All right, everybody, welcome back. Today, we're going to be diving into something I think you'll find really interesting.
Yeah.
It's all about, those little weight loss tips and tricks that you see floating around online.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, today's deep dive is focusing on one that's been getting a lot of attention lately, and it's all about the
Hmm.
idea of eating your carbs earlier in the day.
Interesting.
So we found this short YouTube video from the fitness channel, Love Sweat Fitness,
Okay.
and they're claiming that this simple shift, just changing when you eat your carbs,
Hmm.
could actually be the key to shedding those extra pounds.
Really?
That's what they're saying.
I'm intrigued.
So we're going to unpack this claim a bit,
Okay.
see if there's any scientific weight to it,
All
and
right.
most importantly, figure out if it's something that could actually work for you.
Sounds good.
So to kick things off,
Okay.
the video basically says that you can lose weight
Uh-huh.
without having to cut calories
Okay.
or ditch entire food groups, simply by adjusting when you eat your carbohydrates.
So it's all about timing, not necessarily restriction.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm listening.
But before we get too deep into that,
Yeah.
let's just take a quick step back for anyone who might need a little refresher on what carbohydrates actually are
Sure.
and why they're important.
Makes sense.
So in the simplest terms,
Mm-hmm.
carbs are one of the three macronutrients that our bodies need to function.
Right. Alongside fats and proteins.
Exactly.
Yep.
And their main role is to provide us with energy.
Uh-huh.
So think of carbs like the fuel that powers your body throughout the day.
The gas in the tank.
Exactly.
I like that analogy.
Now, where this whole timing thing comes in
Yeah.
is that the video suggests that our bodies are better at burning carbs more efficiently in
Yeah.
the morning.
So like a metabolic advantage at a certain time of day.
Exactly.
Interesting concept.
But, and here's the thing,
Yeah.
the video itself doesn't really dive into the science too deeply.
Ah.
It just kind of throws out this claim without a ton of explanation.
So what does the science actually say? Does our body really handle carbs differently depending on the time of day?
Well, that's where things get a little bit more complicated.
Okay. I'm ready for the complexity.
While the video keeps things pretty surface level,
Right.
there is actually some research out there
Okay.
that suggests there might be something to this whole timing idea.
Okay, so there's a scientific basis to explore.
Yeah, so it's not just some random fitness fad.
Gotcha. So what's the mechanism at play here? Why might the body be more carb ready in the morning?
Well, one theory has to do with our hormonal rhythms.
Ah, hormones, always playing a role.
Right. Specifically, a hormone called cortisol.
Okay, cortisol, I've heard of that one.
So cortisol is known as the stress hormone.
Yes, I know that when my cortisol is high, I don't feel my best.
And it's naturally higher in the morning.
Okay.
And it plays a role in regulating a lot of different bodily functions.
Right, like our sleep-wake cycle, our energy levels.
Exactly. And it can also impact how our bodies process and utilize carbohydrates.
That's where the connection to carbs comes in.
Exactly. So the idea is that when cortisol levels are naturally elevated in the morning,
Yeah.
our cells might be more primed to use carbs for energy
Interesting.
rather than storing them as fat.
I see. So like giving our metabolism a boost at the start of the day.
Exactly. So by front-loading your carbs earlier in the day,
Okay.
you're essentially working with your body's natural rhythms.
Syncing our eating habits with our internal clock.
Right. And that's what the video is suggesting could lead to more efficient calorie burning and ultimately weight loss.
Okay, so it's not just about what you eat, but when you eat it.
That's the theory.
I got it.
Now, it's important to remember
Yeah.
that this is just one theory.
Right. Always good to be cautious with sweeping claims.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And more research is definitely needed to fully understand the complex relationship between carb timing, cortisol levels, and weight management.
Makes sense. It's rarely a simple answer when it comes to the human body.
But even with that caveat,
Yeah.
I think the idea that something as simple as shifting when we eat certain foods could impact our metabolism.
Right.
It's pretty fascinating.
I agree. It's definitely something to think about.
Now, you might be
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
okay, this all sounds interesting in theory, but what does this actually look like in practice?
Right. How do I actually apply this to my life?
Well, the video gives a few examples
Okay, let's hear them.
of how you can shift your carb intake earlier in the day without having to completely overhaul your diet.
Practical tips are always appreciated.
So for instance,
Yeah.
instead of reaching for that sugary cereal for breakfast,
Okay.
you could try something like oatmeal with some fruit.
Ah, so swapping out refined carbs for complex carbs?
Exactly. And then for lunch,
Okay.
instead of something super light,
Right.
maybe you go for a hearty whole grain sandwich.
Getting those good carbs in earlier.
And then for dinner, you could focus on lighter, lower carb options,
Okay.
like grilled chicken with some veggies.
So gradually shifting the carb intake throughout the day.
Exactly.
I like that it doesn't sound overly restrictive. It's about balance.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
This isn't about depriving yourself.
Right. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle change.
It's about making small, sustainable changes
Sustainable being the key word.
that can have a big impact over time.
I agree.
Now, before we wrap things up,
Sure.
I think it's important to reiterate
Yes.
that while this carb timing strategy might be helpful for some, it's definitely not a magic bullet.
Absolutely not.
Weight loss is a complex process.
Very complex.
And it's influenced by a ton of different factors.
Right, like genetics, activity levels,
Sure.
stress.
Exactly. So individual results will always vary,
Everyone's different.
and it's crucial to listen to your body
Yes. Your body is the best guide.
and adjust this strategy based on your own individual needs and preferences.
I completely agree.
What are some of the key takeaways you would want our listeners to walk away with from this deep dive?
I'd say the main one is this.
Okay.
Timing your carbs might be a useful tool in your weight loss journey,
Uh-huh.
but it's not the be-all and end-all.
Right.
It's about finding what works best for you and your body.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to experiment a little bit.
Absolutely. See how your body responds.
Pay attention to how you feel throughout the day.
Yes. Are you feeling more energized?
Oh.
More satiated?
If you find that eating your carbs earlier keeps you feeling fuller and more energized,
Okay.
then that's a good sign that this strategy might be working for you.
Right. It's about finding those individual cues.
But if it doesn't seem to be making a difference,
Yeah.
or it just doesn't feel right for your lifestyle, then don't force it.
Right. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
There are plenty of other healthy habits you can focus on.
Absolutely. Like focusing on whole foods, getting enough sleep, managing stress.
Exactly. The bottom line is that this carb timing idea is an interesting concept
Very interesting.
that has some scientific backing.
Yes, but more research is always welcome.
But it's not a guaranteed weight loss solution.
Right. It's a tool in the toolbox.
It's just one potential tool in your weight loss toolbox.
I like that.
And it's up to you to decide if it's the right tool for you.
Absolutely. It's about personalizing your approach.
And you know what I find really fascinating about this whole thing?
What's that?
If something as simple as shifting when we eat certain foods can potentially impact our metabolism,
Right.
I can't help but wonder what other aspects of our daily routines
Okay.
might have hidden impacts on our health and well-being.
Oh, that's a great question to ponder.
Like, what if the timing of our workouts or our sleep
Yeah.
or even our exposure to sunlight
Interesting.
could be playing a bigger role than we realize?
It really makes you think about the interconnectedness of everything.
Exactly. And I think that's something worth exploring further.
Absolutely. There's always more to discover.
So maybe that's a topic for a future deep dive.
I'd be happy to delve into that with you.
Awesome. Well, on that note,
Okay.
I think we'll wrap things up here.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And be sure to tune in next time for more explorations into the world of health and wellness.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, stay curious and keep questioning everything.
And keep listening to your body.
Absolutely.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.